Our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter. Hi, this is Greg Starkman with Platinum Method Coaching, and this is another installment of your Blueprint for Success. Today I want to talk to you about job dissatisfaction. The changes in the economy that began in 2008 indicate that more Americans are dissatisfied with their jobs than ever before. The Gallup Well-Being Index, which randomly sampled over 60,000 working adults from January through April of 2016, showed an increase in worker job dissatisfaction. The results of that poll suggest that employees feel detached from their jobs and the companies for which they work. I remember my first job out of grad school. I was so happy with myself. I did everything I was supposed to do. I identified companies with potential, I sent out my resumes, my cover letters, and I got the interviews. Within a month of graduating, I landed what I thought would be my dream job. I was a credit analyst at a major New York money center bank. That first day, I was rotated around the department, meeting various managers and coworkers. Then I spent an hour with my immediate boss. He was frank and forthcoming. He was also clearly not drinking the Kool-Aid. To say he was disgruntled would have been an understatement. He started showing me the ropes and describing what it was really like to work for that bank. Well, I was mortified. It was not even lunchtime, and I knew I'd made a huge mistake in taking this job. How could this have happened? What did I miss? Well, we'll come back to that a little later. So why are people so unhappy with their jobs? One major turn-off at work is an unsupportive boss who isn't devoted to seeing you get ahead. With companies downsizing and keeping resources at a minimum, managers have become more concerned about the bottom line rather than the very people who can have a direct effect on the bottom line. Managers who disengage from their employees and focus only on results without providing inspiration, motivation, or employee support are often unaware that they may be a major cause of job dissatisfaction. Lack of meaningful work also plays a big part. Employees lose interest in work that offers no challenge, opportunity for growth, or incentive. It's easy to disengage from a job or organization that doesn't value its employees or offer incentives for growth. To feel happy at work, employees need to feel as if there's a chance to get somewhere, to move forward, and to make progress. When you feel like your contributions are significant, you feel happy at work, and you work harder. When you feel like no one cares, it's pretty difficult for you to care either. Many employees feel that they're overworked and underpaid. Employer staff and resource cutbacks have left remaining employees taking on more responsibilities with no increases in pay. While salary isn't always a motivating factor for happiness at work, employees who work long hours and still find themselves behind economically tend to be frustrated and dissatisfied with their jobs. Employees with the lowest incomes are the most discontent with their work. Concerns about job security also plays a large part in job dissatisfaction. Work and life balance is important, and companies that fail to recognize the need for employees to maintain a healthy balance are ultimately affecting their own productivity levels. Even if a company can't offer salary increases, one way to improve job satisfaction is to create trade-offs for life and work balance. Instead of offering raises, companies might consider incentives such as paid days off, flexible scheduling, or rewards such as tickets to movies, plays, or sporting events. Most Americans are unhappy at work. Are you feeling dissatisfied with your job? Well, if so, you're among the majority of Americans. 52.3% are unhappy at work, according to a new report by the Conference Board. Every year since 1987, the board has run a job satisfaction survey. Nearly 3 decades ago, 61.1% of workers said they liked their jobs. This number has slid over time, reaching an all-time low in 2010 following the Great Recession, when only 42.6% of the workers said they were satisfied. It's been ticking back up since then, but only slightly. The survey asks workers how they feel about various parts of their experience, including job security, wages, promotion policy, vacation policy, sick leave, health plan, and retirement plan. Of all those measures, workers were happier in 1987 than they are now. As the prospect for long-term work with the same employer have eroded, employees have been saddled with the ever higher health plan deductibles and payroll deductions, the two categories where workers' satisfaction fell the most, and where job security and health plan, both declining by at least 11 points since 1987. The report looks at satisfaction gains in the short term. As for income, the results highlight the gap in satisfaction between higher wage earners and those at the bottom of the income scale. Workers making more than $125,000 were the most satisfied, with over 64% saying they were happy with their compensation, compared to 59% in 2011. Only 24% of those making under $15,000 were satisfied, but that's not really a surprise. That's down from 27% in that group who were satisfied in 2011. In the mid-range, 44% of those making between $50,000 and $75,000 said they were satisfied, versus 45.8% in 2011. So what makes employees happiest at work? Interest in work, which 59% said satisfied them, and people at work, which 60% said they liked. What worries workers most? Layoffs. Even though hiring has picked up, only 46% of employees said they feel satisfied with their job security, compared to 48% before the recession. That's way down from 59% who said they felt they had job security in 1987. Finally, this report had some interesting data comparing men's and women's satisfaction at work. Men tend to be happier in their jobs, with 48% saying they're satisfied versus 46% of women. There are also signs that the glass ceiling persists, observes the report. Shown in differing satisfaction about promotion and compensation, among men, 26% say they're satisfied with their promotion prospects versus 21% of women, and 38% of men are happy with their wages versus 34% of women. Some other significant findings include, for the third year in a row, the largest percentage of respondents have indicated that respectful treatment of employees at all levels was an important contributor to their job satisfaction. Trust between employees and senior management is gaining importance. This aspect increased 6% compared with the percentage in 2015. Compensation displayed the largest discrepancy between importance and satisfaction, with 35 percentage points. One reason may be that 9 percentage point drop in the amount of workers receiving bonuses in the year prior. However, the number of raises given to employees was consistent with previous years. Although job satisfaction and employee engagement levels are relatively high, 2 out of 5 employees, or 40%, expressed to some degree the possibility of seeking employment outside their organization within the next year. Not surprisingly, the leading reason for workers to stay or leave an organization is compensation and pay. The Conference Board relied on Nielsen, which conducted a mail survey of 5,000 households and got responses from 16,073 workers. They examined 44 aspects of job satisfaction and 38 factors directly related to employment engagement. Among the topics explored are career development, relationships with management, compensation and benefits, work environment, engagement opinions, engagement behaviors, and conditions for engagement. This executive summary discusses the leading job satisfaction contributors, their degrees of importance and satisfaction, and implications and recommendations for improvement. Now, there is a level of job satisfaction for each person and each job performed. Problems occur when people are not happy with their jobs. Not everyone can be satisfied with their job. In a 2012 survey conducted by Right Management, 65% of individuals that were surveyed were either somewhat or totally unsatisfied with their jobs. Now, you might be thinking this is a problem here in the U.S., but it's a worldwide problem. In a Mercer study of 30,000 workers worldwide, between 28% and 56% of the workers around the globe wanted to leave their jobs. With all these unhappy people, one would think There has to be causes that drive these percentages so high. Additionally, one has to think about the reasons or responses from employees that do not have job satisfaction and how they act or act out on the job. When you're younger, we act out by pouting or stomping our feet, maybe even holding our breath. But it's important we understand how employees respond when they're not satisfied with their jobs. Understanding the responses helps companies to identify discontent and hopefully address it before it goes too far. Many employees feel dissatisfied with their jobs at one point or another. Some employees leave their jobs for better opportunities, while others choose to stay. Employees with low job satisfaction can negatively affect a company because they typically lack motivation, perform poorly, and possess negative attitudes. These symptoms can be directly related to a company's bottom line. Managers should understand the reasons employees are unhappy at work. Understanding the causes can help managers find the right solutions. There are a number of specific causes for job satisfaction, but here are the main four. Number one is being underpaid. This is the primary reason for job satisfaction. The one reason that's most challenging to work is because it can be driven by an interpretation or perspective that's very personal or individually focused. If a person does not think they're being paid enough to do their job, they perceive themselves to be underpaid, even if the wages they make are in line with that position. If they research the wages for that job and find that they are indeed being underpaid, of course their dissatisfaction is warranted. In addition, there could be analogous circumstances. For example, if you see someone doing the same job as you but yet driving a better car or living in a better house, you may perceive that person as making more money. So once again, you may believe you're being underpaid. But unless you know what others are making, or research wages from accurate sources that are appropriate for specific job functions, then the dissatisfaction that comes from being underpaid is totally based on perception. From a company's perspective, it's a valuable and important perspective because individuals who are dissatisfied with the money they're making for the job they do will most likely leave the organization. Next is limited career growth. Not having the opportunity to climb the ladder and grow your career is another area that can foster dissatisfaction. Although it's important to understand that not everyone wants to move up the ladder, however, for those who do, if the company does not afford them the opportunity of growth, they'll most likely become disenchanted. Employees who feel stuck in their position are less motivated to maintain high productivity than those who do not. Workers feel valued when employees include them in long-term plans and show their appreciation through promotions. Employees who move up in the organization and receive just compensation to reflect their title and responsibility changes usually commit themselves to the company for the long term. The third major factor is lack of interest. Lack of interest can be another reason why employees are unhappy. Most employees want to perform job duties that are engaging and challenging, but monotonous work causes an employee to experience boredom. Bored and unchallenged employees experience little incentive to concern themselves with workplace productivity. According to the University of Tennessee, the nature of employees' work accounts for the most situational influence on the workplace satisfaction. Now, the final major factor is poor management. The management team plays an important role within the organization. Managers are responsible for motivating employees, planning, organizing, and controlling within the organization. A key reason employees perform poorly in the workplace is poor management. Managers with poor leadership skills tend to offer little feedback on employees' performances. Micromanaging or dictating to employees instead of motivating them can cause a decrease in employee productivity. Some organizations possess highly political cultures that tend to discourage workers from believing the roles that they fill are important to the organization. Now back to my story of my first job. I started there in July. After being there for only a few months, my initial disenchantment turned into utter disgust, and I was quite upfront about my disappointment with management. Without realizing it, I was suffering from all four of the major reasons for job dissatisfaction: lack of career growth, being underpaid, poor management, and boring, insignificant work. In December, our department got a new manager. He was transferred from the Beverly Hills private banking operation to head up the credit department in New York. He started interviewing employees to get a lay of the land, as he was new to the New York office. When he got to interviewing me, I pretty much laid into him. I essentially told him, I don't care who you are, this company is so rotten and inbred that there's no hope of making any changes around here that are going to have any positive lasting effect. He was shocked by my brashness. But this enabled us to have some frank and interesting dialogue, but we'll come back to that a little later. So now that we've examined the four major causes of dissatisfaction at work, let's untangle the knot and explore the source of your job dissatisfaction. From wondering whether you made the right career choice to buckling under pressure of a micromanaging boss, it might seem easier to point the finger at the cause of your job dissatisfaction. But before jumping ship, or even jumping to any quick conclusions, it makes sense to explore the deeper reasons why you may feel unhappy at work. Aside from the four major causes we just examined, what causes job dissatisfaction might be something else, like a minor annoyance, or at least hardly noticeable to others. In my situation, it boiled down to incompetent management. The first step toward achieving authentic job satisfaction is understanding yourself well enough to know where you can steer, where you can pivot, and when you don't really have to do either. Let's say your values don't align with the corporate culture. Can you live with that? Or is that a deal breaker? Perhaps you enjoy working with people on your team, but opportunities for advancement seem limited. Is a promotion a priority at this time? Do you get frustrated by your boss's lack of time for you? If so, can you come up with a proactive solution? Sometimes situations change in a variety of ways, turning a job you once loved into one that leaves you feeling frustrated or dissatisfied. You may have been hired at one company, but find out that the culture, or perhaps even your job description, undergoes a huge transformation if it's acquired by a new owner or merges with another company. Sometimes budget cuts at the corporate or department level increase your workload. A boss with whom you really clicked may have left the company. Or maybe you're hired as a programmer, but you're moved into a project management position because that's where the company needs you. When trying to identify whether the source of your job dissatisfaction is your career, company, job, boss, or the people you work with, or maybe even yourself, the answer isn't always obvious. Unfortunately, there may not be a simple way to find an easy answer. Now, a career coach can help you decide your best course of action, whether it may be to explore another career, or go back to school, or find a new job, or look for ways to make your current position more engaging, even enjoyable. So the real question is, what do I do about it? Well, certain circumstances clearly point to a blatant mismatch between the person of the career and the company most of the time. Your dissatisfaction can come from a decision or series of decisions that you made. Knowing that can be very empowering. You may not have the luxury of a great boss, but you always have the luxury of owning your own thoughts, perspectives, and actions. You may find that despite your frustrations, you're not in a position to make a career or job move. It's up to you to make the decision to carry out the responsibilities of your job, but with a different mindset, knowing that when your situation changes, you can take the appropriate action. When you experience intense job dissatisfaction, you tend to hold on to anger or emotional baggage, and that negativity can zap your energy. Sometimes developing acceptance that you can't control the uncontrollable can be quite freeing. Letting go is not the same as ignoring. Rather, it's making a deliberate choice. When things feel intolerable, you can either say, I'm moving on, or these things need to change. At a certain point, each of us takes responsibility for stepping away. This point indeed may be a moment characterized by, I've had enough. You can take this job and shove it. One final thought. In general, people don't regret making a shift or even leaving their career, company, job, or boss. Rather, they regret not doing it sooner. In my situation, ironically, things sort of worked out. Remember how I told you I essentially told off and belittled my new boss? Well, it turns out that he was transferred from California to New York. He had no intention of staying. Of course, he didn't let us know this. The fact that he left his family in California should have been a pretty big clue. In reality, though, he had no intention of staying and was there only long enough to get another job in California. But he was so impressed with my honesty, which bordered on hostility, that we stayed in touch and became friends. Ultimately, he had a huge impact on my life, as he's the person responsible for bringing me to California, which completely changed my life. But that, as they say, is another story for another time. Today we'll just leave it with how it related to my job dissatisfaction. So I hope you found this illuminating. This is Greg from Platinum Method Coaching, where we help professionals find meaning and success in their lives by aligning their talents with their passions, enabling them to realize their full potential. Remember, when one door closes, another opens, but we often look at the closed door for so long that we do not see the one that's open for us. If you have any career-related questions, please call us at 800-217-7113 to take the first step to bring your life back into balance. You can also email me at greg@platinummethod.coaching.com or visit our website at platinummethod.coaching.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or any of your other favorite social media platforms. Until next time, remember, happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It's something you design for the present. Let's make it a great day.